You can't live in South Africa and know what ZCC is. Come on. It's obvious. Are you awake on Saturday night by people chanting out in the bush, keeping you awake all night? Or these people with stars? You know, we all have domestic workers. They come into our houses with their star on. You know what I'm saying?
The bond did finally break. What happened there? What transpired?
Well, with Mahlangu and his breakaway, I just think Enjinus didn't like the theology of the church, because Mahlangu he wanted his members to dress up as Hebrews and grow beards long and wear these robes and wash feet like Jesus and stuff. And I think Enjinus, it didn't suit him. He also didn't rise up in this organization. He was never on the national committee or anything. He didn't really he said, you know, Jesus would never come back to Africa wearing these stupid robes, so why should we wear them? You know what I'm saying? So I think it was probably a good idea for him to move to Lion's Church. The problem he faced with Lion is that Lion became increasingly erratic as he formed his own organization, and as he moved a lot of his followers to this isolated refuge. And Lion, I don't know if he became insane or just isolated, but I mean, he basically turned the Five Mission into a sort of a big sex club. Okay. And he made all of his members' wives have sex with him, and they had parties on the weekends in which they'd all swap wives, etc. And he was eventually expelled from Basotho land for some very egregious things that he did to some ladies there. So he wore out his welcome with the chiefs of Basotho land and with the British, and he was expelled. And as this situation was getting worse and worse and worse, Enjinus was having a lot of success in the Transvaal. I mean, he was no longer having to work as a laborer in construction anymore. So he was able to travel to Joburg, Pretoria, you name it. And he was converting a lot of people. And as Lion got crazier and crazier, Enjinus hid the membership that he was developing from Lion. And I think Lion eventually figured it out, called him to Basotho land. And at that meeting, when Enjinus left, he knew it was over. At which point, when he goes home, he said that he ascended the top of Mount Tabachone and had his fateful vision where God told him to form his own movement. That was after this split in 1924 that he had with Lion.
Yeah. So it sounds like it was for good reason for him to forsake all the leadership and mentorship that he was receiving from, especially Edward Lion, who tend to some horrific practices. But as I was reading, this question popped up in my head. I just want to ask you, would you say that, or do you think that Agnes Lekganyane struggled being under authority and maybe being led or under leadership?
I've seen those suggestions by people who were around Lekganyane when he was young, that, you know, this whole thing, you can't have two bulls in one kraal type, you know, saying, you know what I'm talking about? There's been suggestions that when he was with Mahlangu kept him squashed down because he didn't want his own leadership challenged. And then obviously the same with Lion. I think the thing you have to understand with Lekganyane is that from the time he was young, and he was starting to be educated, he saw with his own eyes missions just being built out of scratch and succeeding wildly. So, for instance, when he was young, the Presbyterians came to Mama Bolo and they converted hundreds of people, built schools, built churches, had a big organization, just really quick. 1905, the Anglicans, a priest comes out of Joburg, an Anglican guy. He stays in 1 year. He buys a farm. He's built a dam. He's built a school. He's built a boarding school. He's got a church. Then the next thing you know, he's converted hundreds of people. Now he's got outstations. He's training ministers. Many of Lekanyani's relatives join it. So from an early age, he just saw evidence that if you are organized, if you can build with your hands. I mean, Enjinus was a construction guy. So he saw this in front of him. Then when the AFM came to South Africa, its membership just started from nothing, you know? And then once again, he saw Mahlangu leave the AFM, build up his own organization, which in the end kind of petered out, but was still started strong. And then the same with Lion, who built Zion out of nothing and had thousands of members. So I'm not so sure it's so much Enjinus, some kind of psychological problem with having authority, with knowing what was possible. What did he see throughout his entire younger life was just successful churches just coming out of nowhere. And why wouldn't he think, I can do this too? I mean, that's what I take from it.
You know, just listening and seeing you, I can tell that you're quite passionate about this history, you know, and the early history of ZCC and the man Agnes Lekanyane. I just want to ask you, as we are about to close, you know, this being the last question, why did you devote so much time in this? You know, you could have done a lot of things in your life, and what do you wish to achieve? You know, when someone grabs, you know, this book and goes to, let's say, a ZCC member or just a random South African, what would you say, like, it will be a success for you, you know, and not many years of research wasted?
I mean, it's not an easy question to answer. What was my goal? I saw a void, all right? You can't live in South Africa and know what ZCC is. Come on. It's obvious. Are you awake on Saturday night by people chanting out in the bush, keeping you awake all night? Or these people with stars? You know, we all have domestic workers. They come into our houses with their star on. You know what I'm saying? You see them on Sundays with the white shoes or with their uniforms, and then they dance in circles. They could take over the place you normally walk through or drive through. You know, I mean, you can't miss the ZCC, okay? Now, you know, why me? I mean, because I saw a void. This is Enjinus Lekanyani's one of the crucial religious figures in Southern African history. He's got the biggest movement came from him, but there's nothing about him. So I know what my skills are. I know what my training was, and I knew this topic was good. That's all I can say. It wasn't motivated to prove anything to anyone other than to myself that I could do it.
Yeah, I'm grateful, and I think most of the people, when they come across something like this, they will be quite grateful that there was once a man by the name of Dr. Barry Morton who dedicated his time, resources, and his mind towards digging deep into who Agnes Lekanyane is and the ZCC. Well, we have come to the end of today's interview, but do subscribe, hit the notification bell, because this is only part one. Part two is coming, where we'll dig in into the ZCC practices, how does it differ from the Protestant, So today it was more regarding the person. Then the next video, it will be the practices and how it differs from the Protestant or the biblical view of Christianity. And then the third one will probably close with the man who takes over Ernest Lekganyane, and that is none other than Edward Lekganyane. So, Dr. Barry Morton, I really do appreciate all the time that you have taken and the sacrifice that you have made to make this interview possible. And I'm looking forward to maybe the next show if you will be willing and,
All right. Well, my pleasure, man. No problem at all. I look forward to the next one.
Before I end the video, to all the viewers, this is the book that I would really suggest for you to grab. It's only 300. As I said, I will link in the description a link where you can purchase this book. It's at Amazon. It is worth it. I read it and I still want to read it once again just to appreciate the work that Dr. Barry Morton has done and learn more about the history of South Africa, the practices of ZCC. Because it's quite an influential church, we gotta be honest. So, that's it from me and Dr. Barry Morton. Until the next video. Bye. Bye-bye.
See ya.
See you.
Tot ziens.